Welcome to the RSP Film Room. I'm Matt Waldman, and this is a long-term show that we do, kind of a long-form show that I do with guests. And one of my favorite guests of all time that I get to do these film rooms with, and I've probably done more of these with this guest than anybody, is one Ryan Riddle. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Matt Waldman, good to be here as always with our late night special edition.
Absolutely. And if you don't know Ryan, Ryan has done fabulous work in the past with Bleacher Report. He's done work with his own site. It's draftmetric.com, right, Ryan?
It's draftmetric.com. Hasn't been updated in a while, but a lot of information there, research, data, metric type stuff related to prospect analysis.
Yeah. And one of the things that is great with Ryan is that he has a I would say a great perspective both from a metric standpoint, from a film standpoint, and then just from his own unique perspective as an individual and the way that he views things. And I'm very fortunate that we're friends and that we have the opportunity to talk shop like this on a regular basis. So it's always fun for me. It's kind of a special thrill for me for us to be able to catch up and watch games like this because Ryan not only brings all of that to the table, but he brings a real enthusiasm about the game on a level that is easy to see when we're watching tape, and we get to be like two little kids in a candy shop. So this has been something I've been looking forward to.
Yeah, feelings mutual.
So today I was kind of surprised with this pick. So I asked everyone for this film room as a guest to give me someone that they wanted to watch, and they also are going to be um, basically the ones leading the film room breakdown with pointing me out to clips that they want to look at that show some of the things that stand out about that player, either from how they think they could develop to what they do that's great, that's strong that they can bring to the table for the league, or things that they need to improve upon. Anything that's notable from the standpoint of studying tape, and that's what we're going to do here. So to begin with, just tell us, Samaje Perine, correct? Is that how his name is pronounced? I think that's it.
Pronouncing names is not my strength, and that works for me.
Okay.
Samaje Perine. We'll just call him that. I think we had a Robert Nikombiche or issue a year ago, but everyone knows, so
Yeah.
that works. But okay, so why him? I
Yeah.
guess. Well, I think what I gathered a little bit from the community, the draft community, was that this was a sort of a polarizing running back. I've heard a lot of he's just another guy to he's going to be something special, and I just wanted to kind of get a sense of where he fits on my perspective and where he falls closer in line with from the polarizing opinions out there. So, and I like to do that. Like I, cause there's guys that just are more locks. Like Dalvin Cook is pretty consistent across the board. Everyone sees what he is, and nobody's saying he's going to be a terrible guy or a bust or just another guy. They see there's a pretty stable, consistent opinion there, and this guy is a little bit less of that, and so that he's more intriguing as a prospect for me. So
Let me go ahead and share the screen. We're going to start with the Auburn game. Is that correct?
sure, yeah, let's go there. And for context, this is, I believe, his last game, collegiate game with Oklahoma, and so there's a little bit of extra significance
Okay.
for this one. And let's go to minute 44.
Okay.
This is we'll start out with a little bit of the negative actually. This is a 2nd and 9 situation in the second quarter. They're down by 3, and like I said earlier, this is P Ryan's last collegiate game, and we're gonna get a little bit of a toss, and and he gets pushed out of bounds. And so for me with this play, I'm sure we'll get several views of it. Um, I see a guy who has an opportunity here to really cut this play upfield and at the very least just sort of drop a shoulder and force these guys to tackle him. But it looks like he sort of gets complacent on this play and takes an out of bounds, easy outs for a short, minimal gain. And it really just doesn't put any onus on the defensive players to do anything special or to to induce some punishment because this is a very physical back when he wants to be. And this is a guy who is powerful, dense body, uh, very thick legs, tree trunk legs, and he doesn't take advantage of it at all. And
No.
there's a bit of inconsistency in the way that he plays, and it kind of completely makes sense that this would be a polarizing running back because there's things that he does where you go, what the heck? And then there's things that he does where you're like, aha, this is going to be good.
When you look at him right here, I mean, even just on this one play, the first thing I would think if I had never seen P Ryan before is, well, first of all, they're tossing him kind of a play where it looks like it could possibly be an inside zone, and then they throw the toss. So there's a little bit of implied misdirection maybe here, and then on top of it, because it's a toss to the outside to get him on the perimeter, that's often reserved for a back who may not naturally be as fast to get around there anyway. And you can see that he's getting met just barely at the past the line of scrimmage in the first place. So, speed and quickness to me may not be his greatest strength. And if you're gonna avoid even working on your greatest strength, which is, it looks like would be
Power,
power,
right?
that is it
Then yeah,
questionable.
it's a cop out. And so, and I would just also add that my scouting philosophy when I'm watching film, particularly, I prefer always slow motion because to me it's like being in the zone. You can miss a lot of things at regular speed, but it's slow motion. Like the little nuances and details become a little bit clearer. And I don't. I really just. And I know that some people think that this is ridiculous, and I've heard that feedback, but I don't watch any tape in regular speed ever.
I don't think that's ridiculous at all. In fact, I'm with you. My recommendation, if anything, is maybe not as extreme as that, but mine is I pretty much I'll watch it full speed once, and then I will usually watch it two or three times at half speed, maybe even a quarter speed, and then I'll watch it full speed again. And
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I look at plays. So
I just get so much more out of the slow motion version of things because you can see their brain thinking. You can see every little step, every movement. The hand goes up. The leg. I get more feed, more data, more information
yeah,
in slow motion.
and it makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, and now if we want in the same game, we can go to 359.
Okay.
And this is a big. We're still in the negatives of Samaje Perine, and here on this play, this is a good example to me of something I saw very consistent, or at least it played out several times in his tape. I watched everything that was available on Draft Breakdown for him, and this was not an anomaly, something like this. And what we have here is a guy who has a potential alleyway, um, but it's, he tends to not have vision to see it. Yeah, following that fullback. And there's a lot of times where I see his lack of vision. And I know it's not an issue. At first, when I started watching the tape, I was wondering if this was him not trusting his physical ability. Maybe he doesn't have a jump cut. Maybe he doesn't have lateral movements. These aren't actually tape ended up proving that that is not an issue. He has a jump cut, a pretty good jump cut. He has agility and lateral movement. So I have basically chalked it down to it just appears that there's a lot of times where he almost closes his eyes and runs right into the backs of blockers when he has escape lanes. And you're going to see some other examples of this as we move along.
Yeah, and when you look at this, what's fascinating too is where he does make his adjustment. Right, you're going to see a little bit of a hop right there, and
Mm-hmm.
that hop is so early that it kind of coincides with the what you're analyzing, which is he made his decision, just kind of just ran right in there instead of making the decision to wait a little longer for the block to set up and go outside. It's like he already committed very early in this run, which would kind of coincide with the idea of, well, yeah, maybe he did just close his eyes and hit this crease and
Because
join.
he's got to cut to that outside, and that would be probably a pretty big gain if he does that. But he doesn't seem to see it. He doesn't seem to be. He seemed to be projecting that angle, and didn't take what was given to him.
Yeah, because if he took it, he'd probably be a yard or further downfield, closer to the numbers with a one-on-one on a safety or a defensive back here, which is should be an advantage for P. Ryan immediately, as opposed to dealing with these big guys up, in the middle of the field.
And the play onto itself is no big deal, not a big thing. You see these things kind of like running backs do this, but when it becomes a pattern, then you start to ask yourself, you know, is this going to be a problem with him translating to the NFL?
Yeah,
Um, and if we want to move on, if you have more to add, that we can. But if you want
let's
to move on, we can go
let's
there
do it.
too. All right, let's go to 513.
All right.
And so we just talked about uh, what kind of footwork capabilities he has. Here would be an example of what he is capable of.
Mm,
Um, we
good to know.
see good footwork, good stiff arm. He can move laterally. There's even better examples of that uh, in his resume beyond this play. But I think it shows a good, uh, decent quickness. He's not overly quick, and he's kind of a guy who needs to build up momentum to get his speed going. And unfortunately, the offensive scheme that they run at Oklahoma, I don't think was advantageous to his skill set, which is quite a compliment considering he was so statistically successful
That's
throughout his career.
that's a very good point, because I would imagine what you're thinking here is he would be a much better fit as an I back or a single back.
His style of running is completely conducive to that form of offense.
Yeah,
And it just doesn't, it's just not optimal for him to be running out of this shotgun formation option and all that stuff. But he does it, and he does it successfully. It's just not playing to his strengths, because you'll see that he has speed, he has long speed, decent long speed, but he has to build up. And when his momentum gets stopped, it's not, he doesn't have the explosive torque to kind of get it going really quickly again.
yeah, and that's a great point. And when you look at this play, I mean, I think this is my first time seeing it, and I love the hip flexibility to be able to bend like this and turn and bounce it outside. But when you get a back like this running east west, that's not really what you want. That's not where he's going to get to punish people. It's not where he's going to get a chance to wear people out. I don't want Samaje Perine making contact by stiff arming people with light little stiff arms working around an edge, as much as I want him getting 5 to 7 yards of momentum, like you said, and lowering the pads on somebody.
Right. Use play to the strength of your talent. Let Mixon do this play. He's better equipped. But this is the offense, and he has to be an element within it without completely just doing something customized for him. But that said, regarding the stiff arm, I notice he has like a 50-50 chance. This is a really weird thing. He has a 50-50 chance of using a stiff arm when it's applicable. And when he decides to do it, it's effective, like right here. But other times it's like he Tyrannosaurus Rexes or crocodile arms it and just decides I don't want a stiff arm and ends up getting hit in his abdomen and torso a lot, where a stiff arm might have protected him and even broken a tackle or two here and there. But when he does use the stiff arm, it yields decent results.
Is this a player that when
Yeah,
you see something with that kind of inconsistency, is that something that's either a product, could it be a product of either immaturity and approach to the game, or could it be, the players, I don't even want to go, I hate going here, but I'm going to ask, like, the players' desire to compete on that given day, to things that could be going on just with him, that we'd be doing some really heavy, like, emotional projection on the player's projection on the player's emotional
yeah,
state. But I guess I ask you because you're someone that I know that has played at this level, and I wonder if you've worked with guys and competed with guys who, when they're on, they are on fire, and but if something's going on, either personally, or their interaction with the coaching staff, or something else that's happening, that they're either really inspired and they're laser focused, and then when they're not, it's like they're not the same player.
yeah. I mean, these are all very possible theories that may hold water, and I would hate to over speculate, but I can offer from tape evidence that I see a guy who doesn't seem to completely know how to play running back to its full extent. And I don't know if that is diluted to a point of not having meaning, but if I were to clarify, it would be like just even if we diagnose the stiff arm itself, I noticed throughout his tape that you'll never get just a powerful, explosive, just straight punch to the body or face of an opponent that is, like the a la the Marshawn Lynch stiff arm in the epic run in the
Yeah.
playoffs against the Saints, where he just tosses that guy and sort of like puts a lot of emphasis into the stiff arm. He'll never stiff arm with that kind of oomph. And even in his delivering punishment to opponents, it never has the umph. I mean, he's just a powerful guy, and people kind of bounce off of him. But he's never like completely sold on the idea of delivering that power to its full extent, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me how many college big backs have that same narrative about their development track. I remember listening to Chris Spielman back in the day on Michael Bush, and just you could
Right. That's
he'd
a perfect example.
yeah, and he would sit there and talk about Bush. He'd go, if I were
Mhm.
his coach, I don't know, I'm sure his coaches have done this, but I would just be pleading with him to get his pads downhill, and I'd tell him, look, you are a running back. You are a big running back. You can punish
Right.
people. You may
Right.
have scat back traits and abilities, but that's not you. It's kind of like that. It's like that Joseph Campbell retold Indian proverb of the tiger who's given birth to by who's given birth by a sickly tiger in a field full of goats and dies, and the tiger thinks it's a goat, until another tiger comes along and says, and starts eating its family, and looks, and the young tiger that's emaciated, and because it's been eating grass all this time, is bleeping at the older tiger, and the older tiger says, "Let me, you are a tiger," and it keeps bleeping at him, and he grabs the tiger, takes him to the water, and the tiger looks down and sees himself, and still bleeping and scared, until he like stuffs some like meat into its mouth, and lets out a roar, and doesn't realize that it's roaring. And he says,
Yeah, yeah. I want to stuff some meat into Piran's mouth just a little bit. And I think the Bush comp holds a little water. I would say he's not quite as finesse as Bush was, definitely.
"Yeah."
But there's elements of that.
So what do we have next?
All right, let's go to the Baylor tape.
Okay.
And this guy was actually used because they did have Mixon a lot. So this guy was actually used a lot, surprising to it, a surprising extent. He was used as a fullback and it was a lead blocker for Mixon. And I was very intrigued and impressed with the way that he did that so consistently. And if we go to a minute 50, is better like blocks, even though there was a lot of good blocks. This was just one that sort of has that like emphasis of power.
All right.
Um,
So 150. All right. So we're at 150, and we got him in the split backfield as the left hand dude.
so I highlighted just a couple of blocks. This is one that I thought was impressive. He just gives up his body, full speed, no hesitation, and it was one of the very first examples of just like a guy who can be physical, willing to be physical, and doing it in a non-selfish manner. So I kind of thought that that was noteworthy. And lo and behold, there was better examples that came along later.
Yeah, but I love how low he can get as well. I mean, he's built low to the ground anyway, but the
Mhm.
ability to get under this defender who's already going low too is a nice.
But we don't have to stick to this too much. And if we go to the 3 minute mark, and I just want to say we're gonna hit one of his greater strengths as a running back and where he's going to translate impressively at the next level. I have watched, like I said, all of the games on Draft Breakdown for him, and in that sample size, which isn't the complete sample size, but significant, I have not seen this guy get stopped on short yardage, 4th and 1, goal line. Like he smells the end zone, he smells that first down, and he kicks into a new gear. And here, this is like, look at this. This is a 10-man front,
Yeah,
basically. There's a 10-man front here. And it just wasn't enough. He he finds a way to get through with good feet. There's vision here. There's evidence of vision. So, I mean, that's that inconsistency that I was talking about. He starts in the middle of the field and ends up penetrating the end zone just outside the right hash because he had to find that space, and there was no designated hole in this run. It was sort of just find it where you can get it. Little job there,
yeah.
and it's hard to see, but um, he causes one guy to miss and then sort of carries another guy into the end zone.
Causes that penetrator to miss right there.
Yep. And then there's another guy that's kind of blurry that gets dragged in. This guy, stopping this guy's momentum is, and that's the kind of thing that translates well at the next level. Running backs who absorb contact and fall forward and drive for that extra couple of yards. I mean, that stuff adds up. And there's going to be some great clips later on where we're going to see a firsthand look from focusing on one individual defensive player throughout the course of a drive, and you can watch him just sort of get demoralized. But that's later.
Cool.
But if we want to go to 328, so not much further ahead, this is sort of a little bit more of that that issue that we started out with on this, where this seems to be a little bit of a combination of patience or lack thereof slash timing hurting him. Runs too quick to get behind that blocker, and he loses his momentum, and he has a lane, but so I would slow mo this. He's running too fast to get behind that blocker.
Yeah. Let's look at
And
him
if
one more
he
time.
He has a cutback inside, but because he loses his momentum running into that blocker, he just doesn't have enough time or space to make a move. And there's a move to be made there,
Yeah.
but he makes that contact with that blocker and it takes that away. And then he was two outside, and this guy makes a good tackle on him. But this is a move where where when you're talking about a very good class of running backs coming into this draft, you want to, the bar has to be raised a little bit. And this is a tackle that should not be made on him.
Is this the type of thing where the back should have maybe taken the exchange and
And waited a little bit, like a Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell has that patience, but he knows how to use it where he's still leaving space for movement.
right?
Here, Iran here is crowding. He's crowding a little too much, and then he just, like I said, if he's coming from a stop or a slowed down position, then he's very sedentary and easy to bring down.
Could he possibly have maybe pressed this a little bit by dipping a little bit to the inside and looping around to get behind his backside pulling block? I've seen a guy
Yeah,
like Justin Davis at USC do this a lot, and he's a guy that I was just watching before the show, and he's better as a zone runner than he is a guy behind pulling blocks. But I found that when he was successful, it was because he was able to maintain this kind of depth behind his pulling blocker by taking the ball and then wheeling a little bit outside, inside, then back out, so that he had momentum, but he timed his block well.
it, right, and that's like one of the things that I was really kind of just pointing out that however he does it, which I guess are various ways, the way that he decides to do this momentum, and it is that loss of momentum that ends up being his undoing here. When he had options to build that momentum and not lose it, penetrating that hole right there
Yeah,
with momentum, and that would have probably been an arm tackle that would have been hard to make for number 20,
yeah,
and likely would have been a miss one, even if he kind of jumped inside a little right as he was making contact.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I would have even just liked to seen him lower his pads and go,
Right, or that,
I'm a
right,
tiger, damn it, I am not a goat,
right,
and just
and just hurt him.
yeah,
make this guy think twice about tackling you, and we are going to see that he can do that. And when he does that, like, it's demoralizing,
yeah,
but it's inconsistent, and that's the thing. There's an inconsistency with his method, his process, and thus an inconsistent outcome.
excellent.
But okay, so now we can go to 535, and here's another example of well, no, this is an example of a guy who doesn't have that early explosion. And if this was an explosive running back, this is a big game.
Oh yeah,
The fact that he can't generate that explosion early is why this was a moderate gain instead of a big one.
yeah, because
So this is what we can see. Yeah,
right
there's a
here,
big hole in it. It's going to close quick in the NFL, right? This is
yeah,
closing semi-fast here at the collegiate level, but in the NFL, this whole closes fast, and this is going to be a limitation for him in the NFL.
yeah, because that's a hole that an Eddie George back in the day would have blown through in his prime and have gained 45, 50 yards on. Michael Bennett, if he saw it, had the speed and burst
Right.
to do this as well.
But often what happens is you sacrifice power for speed, speed for power. So it's a relative thing, and you know, is he slow relative to his size? No, and he actually has decent speed when he can build it up. but it doesn't start.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the quickness. Okay, so well, we can move to the 2015 Clemson game.
All right, let's do it.
And here we'll be at the minute 52 mark is another example of just how well this guy operates near the goal line or 4th and 1 or whatever. And these are the well, this is the Clemson team that played Alabama in the national championship that year. And he's going to go head to head with a very good linebacker. Too.
Let's go ahead
He's
and
going to
oops.
go head to head with a very good linebacker, Ben Bolware. And this play is the kind of play that you'll see time and time again with him.
And we're
He
talking about
smells the end
115,
zone. 152.
152. Okay.
So right, if you pause it like right as he gets the ball, you can see that he doesn't have a clear pathway into this end zone, and it's just going to be a matter of can he push his way in there, and that's what he does really well. And that's when possible to stop. He drives right through two big linebackers to get that touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see some guys try and dance around there, or they don't know how to hit it and drive, and he definitely has no problem there. That's why Carlos Williams, early on in his career, was so compelling as a short yardage guy, is that he had no compunction about
Right, just
dropping
go
his
for it.
pads and going full speed ahead.
Yeah. And
He
so
knew he
now,
was a tiger. He just ate a lot of meat.
yeah. See, I mean, he shows it, and there'll be other times where he'll show it too.
Okay.
But 723,
Okay.
there's that reoccurring theme. Uh, I was at first I was wondering if this was a. There's going to be two angles, so you'll
Okay.
get two good angles. But here's just that vision thing. He can go right, he can go left, and he goes kind of straight right into a, a defender. And I just think that this is a guy who had two options, and he chose option C, the option that he didn't have.
So I'm not seeing where he could have gone. So point it out to me because I'm missing it.
All right, play. I think they might play from another angle.
Okay. Then I'll let it skip that next angle where they do the close up of 48 running through him.
No, okay, no, they're not gonna do it. To
Okay.
me, if you go back,
Well, that's my wife's cousin.
really,
Yeah, DJ Reader. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's her cousin. So,
Um,
second cousin, actually. Let's see. 728. What was it? 725.
23.
Okay, here we go. All right.
All right, stop it.
All right.
All right, so here what I see is a guy who can push up, but then left right after this blocker who's about to engage on 94 clears him out. He has time to get in front. He has time to get behind 94 and shift to the left.
Okay.
But what he does is just runs. It looks like he doesn't see that left pathway that he can at least attempt, and it would force an arm tackle on 48 if that even becomes an arm tackle.
Yeah, I see what you're saying because in this next step, he could, once he plants this left foot, he could plant the right, and instead of going that way, he could have planted the right and then darted to the left side.
Yep.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But he already starts angling to the right, and he closes off the right option.
Yeah.
If he would have stayed in the middle and then went one way or the other, he would have had a two-way go. But he angled right, closes off the right, but then go left. But he doesn't. He just stays the course, and it's just a direct hit, and then he gets basically pancaked.
Yeah.
Um, we can go to 837 and kind of stick to the same thing. That's good.
All right.
I think this is the one that has two angles.
Ugh. Yeah. Let's watch this from the other angle.
And this might be like the only time where I haven't seen him get a 4th and 1. And it tends to, and it happens to be the issue that he just doesn't see pathways.
Okay. I mean, look at that there.
Yeah, hit that and hit it hard. But then if he doesn't, okay, but now hit the left. After you bounce off of the blocker and you don't have anyone wrapped around you, you have another option where you can now go left. Okay, you missed your first cue to hit that right hole. You bounce off of 91 here, but he just keeps driving forward, driving forward.
And he's late to finally spin, and by the time he does start to turn, he's wrapped up too much, and two more men come into the fray to push back, and it's sealed up. He's like, oh, I could turn left. Now I'm getting grabbed, and now I'm about to get converged on by four more players. Yeah,
Even a spin left right before the contact would have been a very effective move here.
absolutely. So yeah, I mean the early play would have been like, okay, look, let me
Okay.
go as fast as I can to the right here. The next one is okay. I've just gotten
Now
hit.
spin, just
Spin.
roll, kind of roll that. Yeah, roll off of that contact, and you would have had a good 5+ yards.
And there are a lot of smaller backs who do this wonderfully, who aren't as powerful but get a
Right.
lot of yards in the short range of the field in on short yardage for that very fact.
So what I just sum this up as he buries himself in the trash a little too much. He doesn't see things at a certain point.
Gotcha. All right. So what else we
All right.
got?
All right. Now let's go to a TCU 2015, 33 seconds in.
All right.
And here we get to see some impressive athleticism, some balance. And we get to see that jump cut that I wasn't sure existed. I was like, does this guy have a jump cut? Maybe that's why he's doing this, because he doesn't believe in his physical abilities. But here we're going to see that I would go slow motion. Here we're
Yeah.
going to see that he has those things. And I think this might have two angles as well, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Look at how
Stays
low he's
guard,
able to get. That is sweet.
keeps his balance, gets more yards even after that second hit to his legs, puts his hand on the ground, turns himself into a tripod, grabs like 5 extra yards. And there's a really good jump cut in it, and it'll be on this replay. But you can really see that he's got the feet to sort of hit holes if he's seeing them.
Yeah.
And he's got good balance.
Oh, for
Guys
sure.
bouncing off of those tree trunk legs.
I mean, guys often wear their numbers from guys that they really like, and you can almost imagine that he really liked Maurice Jones-Drew, who had that thick trunk and
Yeah.
that ability to, bounce off players, but also had that agility and low to the ground type of play.
And if we stick to the theme of balance, we can go to 344.
Okay.
And here's another display of
That's a nice
his
cut.
balance. And, yep, good cut,
Ooh.
long speed. It's going to show up here too. And he's got some wheels. Here's that moment. You could see the momentum building in his speed. And then he's a guy who he can hit home runs. And I think he can do it periodically at the NFL. Not going to be that guy in any consistent way. He can 20 plus yard runs or anything, but
Yeah. I always like seeing a back who, when they can take a hit to the hip or the thigh with a high level of velocity and stay upright. I mean, the hips are probably the level where you probably want to take the hit, I would imagine, in some level, because that's where the biggest muscle mass is going to be to take an impact. But,
yeah.
I'd say more the thigh level or the knee. If you can stay
And
upright on that, that's harder, but still.
and I would say there's potentially one of those moments where where's the stiff arm there?
Yeah.
And it's like that 50-50. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I just let somebody like hit me.
Yeah.
I didn't knock him down. Good job there.
Now, I would argue with you on this one where I'd say I kind of like what he
My
did.
Yeah, he kind of like went went limp on it.
Yeah, he put the arm out there and said, "Okay, go ahead and hit this. Like hit this and then I'm going to take it away."
Yeah, a little Olay.
Yeah. He showed him the cape for sure. That's yeah. No, that's a nice play for sure. As I watch him, I think, you know, I can appreciate the balance. I can appreciate that when he is on point, he is a tough tackle. My biggest
Yeah, and
concern,
you were go on.
go ahead. My biggest concerns as far as I'm watching this is, yeah, is he going to be consistent enough at making the right decisions, and is he instinctive enough? I don't know if instinctive enough is the best word for it, but is I could have seen that other play, but is he on point enough play after play where you're going to say, look, I can count on this guy, 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 to do the thing that I'm looking for him to do.
Yeah, the good news is when he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, at least he's a guy who falls forward and he doesn't fumble and he blocks well. And so there's a lot of supplemental things to make up for where he might be inconsistent.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking to a guy who's hard to tackle and stuff, we can go now when you're ready to
Okay.
the 2015 Texas Tech game.
Okay.
And I didn't put a number in here, time, but it's not. It's at the very. It's pretty close to the beginning. They're gonna have like a 3 and out,
Okay.
and then they're gonna get the ball again. It's at like the 10-minute game mark, not the film mark, but the game mark.
Okay.
So,
Let's see what we can
and
find
I just
here.
want to point out, yeah. So this is the beginning of the game, first quarter, first drive, and they're gonna get the ball back when it says like 10 minutes in the quarter.
Okay.
Okay, so here's where we want to go. So go back a little.
Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Excuse me. Back to you. Let's hit the speed button here
Yeah.
and get to about couple seconds earlier. Here we go.
All right. So this is great. This might be my favorite segment of his tape. And what we have here is a guy who can demoralize a defender. if not an entire defense. But what we have is a case study of one particular guy with a lot of energy. Game just started, and it's number 18 on Texas Tech, and he is, I think, like the middle linebacker. He's a captain. He's an honorable mention, second team AP, All Big 12 linebacker, talented guy with an NFL body, and he's psyched. He's psyched to play Oklahoma. He's psyched. And this first play, he's going to make a tackle, but it's going to hurt, and he's going to have that sort of, oh, I'm okay, yeah, I'm excited, I'm hyped, and Perine just basically pounds, but he gets up and look, he's very excited, this guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hit him, and he's feeling the physicality of what's to come. But you can also notice the body language of Perine too, who's just like business as usual. This was nothing, and this guy's like ready to go, and this guy's feeling like he did something to him. But it's sort of a facade, because the very next play he has to make the tackle again, and
number 18 kind of rebounds off the turf when he's getting hit. So
yeah, he gets pounded right into the ground.
yeah.
But there's going to be this. We're going to watch this entire drive. Let me just warn you.
Good.
Just watch the entire drive between these two guys, and watch the body language change. Watch the way he's tackling change. And so 18 now is like getting driven back. He's arm tackling. Where'd all that excitement go? He's like, man, this guy's hard to tackle.
Yeah, he got more. I mean, I like the one where he got rebounded off the ground. Now he gets thrown down on his shoulder and then dragged.
Yeah. And he gets up, and where's all the excitement? I don't know, but let's see. And then we go to the next play, and 18's in that same spot, and he's going to have to make a play again. But what's he doing there? He's looking at some guy, and then I feel like he's purposely putting himself in a position to make an arm tackle, because he doesn't want to get in front of this train coming at him. He's already felt this thing twice, and I can tell you that he is hurt.
Yeah, because why would he be keying on this when he knows that guy's keying on it? Yeah.
Right. There's no read that is saying go that way, but it allows him to not have to get run over. And
that's such a great point.
Is basically making a good play, a good run here, and this is that unspoken element that the running back like this brings to the table. You hurt people when you bring that shoulder down, and when you have that body that he has, it hurts.
Oh.
And here he is blocking 18, right? So it's like this is just an entire drive of Perine versus 18. And remember the body language that he had when he got up from that first hit? All of that body language has been zapped out of him.
Yeah.
And look at him. He's just demoralized.
Yeah.
That drive demoralized this guy.
It's like the boxer who landed a good jab and started celebrating and hot dogging, and then the other guy gets to deliver some body blows and ends up throwing one that knocks him to his knees, and he's sent to his corner for the count.
Meanwhile, look at Perine's body language.
Yeah.
Excited, happy, and just getting started, right?
Yeah.
This really and this is the beginning. This sets the tone of how that's going to go. And this is what he's doing is not just demoralizing a random player. He's demoralizing one of this defense's captains.
Yeah.
Probably an emotional leader for these guys. And then that's just, and look, here's a guy who just won't quit on this. I guess they got the ball back really quick.
Yeah.
And I actually had this play tagged for you, is how he he smells that end zone.
Yeah.
Bounces off of players. And when you see the maximum effort that he can give and his ability to stay upright, shed tacklers, and find his way in at any cost.
Yeah, that's a pretty play.
And that's a real theme.
Yeah.
That's a real theme. So if we can skip now to 410, and
Okay.
we'll get a little bit of examples of his speed to make big plays. If he can build momentum, he can do some things.
That's a nice crease to be able to do that.
Yeah, right. See what I mean? Like he doesn't have to stop. He's building that momentum, and then we'll get a little bit of his speed element.
And look at that. He just got a pretty good angle on that defensive back. I mean, he didn't beat it. This wasn't Leonard Fournette building momentum, but it's still good enough that within the
It's
span of
impressive
15
for his
yards,
size.
he's already
Yeah.
even with the guy.
I'm wagering he's about 240 pounds, give or take, and it's a lot of weight coming at you, and he's coming at you pretty fast for a guy that big.
Yeah.
But you could see how like a downhill type run scheme would really benefit him.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, within about 10 to 12 steps, he's even with that safety from about 20 yards away. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
and if
clear,
we
and
go,
it's. I mean, I'll just note this. I mean, this is the closest to that downhill scheme you're going to get with the way this pistol alignment is. But to be able to run like this, off tackle zone and get that nice lane like that. I mean, again, he doesn't have to do a lot of that, as we talked about before. A lot of that change of direction. This
the vision is obsolete there. It's a clear hole, easily defined.
just roll the bowling ball down the lane.
Right. Let it build momentum and punish the guys for having a tackle.
Absolutely. So what
All
next?
right. All right, let's go to 553, same game.
All right.
And this is the fullback version of P Ryan that I was talking about.
All right.
So yeah, he's going to be a lead blocker, and you can see kind of what he can do, and his power, his accuracy in
Ooh.
targeting,
Yeah.
and the pancake block.
Yeah. You can see right on target. Right about here, you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. Square between the numbers. Because if you're not going to use your hands to block someone, you better be dead on with your hit.
Yeah, and you notice that with P Ryan, guys bounce off of him. He's not the guy who, when he gets hit, that he's doing the moving. Like he's
Yes.
moving. It's like he's moving others, and maybe they bring him down and can stop him. But like his body absorbs contact in a very impressive way. He's a very powerful bat.
And that's a very subtle um, insight that I really appreciate from you, because time after time you can watch guys who block and they may send a guy backwards or stand them up, but then you see them also stood up in that collision, and it doesn't even look like he's doing anything really when you
Yeah,
look at his upper body after the contact. It's like you see a little bit of a ricochet, but it's only because his arms are coming out to move the guy.
yeah.
That's great.
And I just really am impressed with the selflessness and the willingness to be physical. I mean, a lot of all-star college running backs would put up a big stink having to turn into a fullback consistently for some number two running back, right?
Yep.
But he seems very willing and able and capable to do it. So
Very
that
good
gives him some
points.
extra points in my book.
Yeah.
And we can move now to the 2015 Akron game
Okay.
and go to 5 minutes 58 seconds.
Okay.
And this is more short yardage, turning the corner, breaking tackles, absorbing that contact, balance, power. You get a lot, like We're gonna go to yeah, 5:58. All right, so it's 4th and 1. The offensive line loses ground. He's able to turn the corner. He's got that momentum built up, breaking tackles,
Yeah.
staying on his feet, rumbling, tumbling, stumbling
Oh,
for good
because yeah.
yardage. He avoided the trash.
Yeah, we'll get to see it from here a little closer up. He has a
And I
very
really
good
like the way
balance
that,
touch. Yeah.
yeah, I really like the way that first tackler doesn't even slow his momentum down because this guy has so much built up momentum with all that weight that he
Yeah.
just like goes right through it. Like he goes through him like paper. He goes through that guy like paper.
Is this kind of how Ironhead Hayward might have been in a sense? I haven't really looked at him in quite a long time, and I was a kid watching the game at that point. I never even imagined I would be doing this, so it's hard to say. But I think of a guy like Hayward who wasn't extremely fast until he built up momentum. But
Mm-hmm.
when he did, it was like, oh, watch out.
Yeah, he was a beast.
All right, so what?
Pirine kind of has elements of Michael Turner to me, but not not speed. It's not as fast. The body structure seems to be very similar.
That's a very good. That's a good observation for sure. It's almost like he's somewhere between. Yeah, I mean the Michael Turner one makes sense to me a lot.
The Maurice Jones-Drew one, I can see that as well. He's, he's got elements of a lot of different guys. But okay, the last one, and this is just a compilation of. We're gonna look at one, two, three. We're gonna look at 4 plays
Okay.
from Kansas 2014, and I think you can be able to see that. And thus, he's a little bit lighter. And I just want to make the point that if we can if he can do a little bit of the Le'Veon Bell strategy and drop about 20 pounds, this is kind of what you can get from this guy. So we'll go to 309. Oh, actually, the first play. This is it. Let's just stay here. The first
Okay.
play is Pirine's long speed here. And he's a little lighter. He doesn't look as thick to me. And this is his early years, his first year as a starter.
And he's pulling away
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Yeah. And we don't have to focus on that over and over again. I mean, we can just go to 309.
Okay.
Just kind of look at several clips of just his speed. And like I said, if he gets to the NFL and does a Le'Veon Bell, drops like
Uh huh.
15, maybe 20 pounds, this is a guy who can really break away at the NFL level.
Yeah. Suddenly he looks like the prospect people have talked about. Because I got to be honest, when I watched P. Ryan a couple of years ago, I remember seeing tape from a couple of years ago. I go, oh, I can't wait to watch him. And he was the
Yeah,
first guy first running back I watched this year. He was the
yeah,
first one, and I was disappointed. I was
yeah,
disappointed. My
yeah,
first couple of viewings, I just thought he's a little slower than what I thought. I don't like the decisions he's making.
yeah,
You know, I I'm looking at some of the ways he finishes plays, and I'm like you were talking about, and it's just and I thought, wow, what a buzzkill this was. I got my 2017 draft season all started. I'm gonna, I've gotten out of UGA. This is gonna be my first. This is gonna be my first player I am gonna watch. I'm gonna sit down and got going to kick this off
Yeah.
right. I'm going to watch me a power back with some speed, and then I like
And it
you know
falls
I
kind of flat.
and it kind of fizzled out. It was like
Yeah.
the champagne not having any, hitting it up against the boat, and there was nothing in the bottle. So
Yeah,
that's
this was actually the game, and I remember I was scouting Ben Healy when I was like, who in the heck is this running back? And none of the other tape really shows this person. 418, and there's more of this guy doing the same stuff.
wow. Let's do it. 418. Well, what's nice is I'm going to go back and watch this game, and I'm gonna do. This will be a very instructive game for projection about what he could be.
But this is really just a focus on the kind of speed potential.
Yeah.
Takes a little bit of his weight off. And then we can go to 452.
All right. Actually, let me just watch this from this angle real quick.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's Ben Healy chasing it. And I
Yeah.
been Ben Healy is a hint, yeah, Henny, I guess. He's really fast. So for him to be struggling to even catch him, it's impressive.
Yeah. He looks thinner up top.
Yep. He's thinner. He's not as thick.
Okay. Here we go. 452.
Yeah. This guy just went off in this game. Look, he beat the angle.
Yeah. I mean, that's a defensive back that catches P. Ryan this year,
Yeah, yeah,
without a doubt. And the linebacker here overruns this play, and then it's over. I mean,
yeah,
this wouldn't have been over this year, but he has no shot. But yeah, this angle is just pulled away from right here, from the 30 on.
yeah. I mean, this guy never really is able to catch him, and this is a guy who's smaller. He's a DB. DB's against a 200 and probably 230 at this point, 225-pound guy. That should be a guy who gets caught. But the
Yeah,
fact that he doesn't, I mean, that tells you he's got capable speed. Maybe not elite. I mean, obviously not elite speed,
but like
but like
Stephen
this
Davis in
is the
his
kind of
prime speed, like
right.
running back kind of speed.
Yeah, and we can even go to let's go to 826.
Okay. Oh, and that was smooth too.
A little giddy up.
Yeah. Yeah, let's look at that again. This has been insightful. This four-play series has been very insightful, and the build up to it with what you've shown to where he is now to what he was.
Yeah, I mean, we can call this a glimpse of what can happen if he decides to go the path of Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell was like 240 something at Michigan State. After his rookie year with Pittsburgh, he goes down to like 215, right?
Right.
And look at what he was able to do with that.
Yeah.
And we can see now what P Ryan can be at a little bit lighter version of himself. And
Yeah.
then let's say he keeps or adds to that strength and that man strength and muscle and explosiveness that develops as you get older into your prime, your physical prime. But you shed some of that excess. I mean, this is a guy who can really, break some big runs in the NFL
Have you?
potentially.
Yes. Now I'm a guy that when you look at Le'Veon, I want to just note this for people who are listening to this is that certainly Le'Veon Bell, when he came into the league, even his testing at that higher weight, he was still, from an agility, speed, quickness standpoint, in range with Ahmad Bradshaw and Javid Best in terms of the stop start quickness, the agility, the lateral movement. But I would, and he did a lot of really nice things at the Big Ten level with that movement. But I think that to be a back now who does what he does in Pittsburgh, like, to be able to stop the way he does and be as patient as he is a testament to how much quicker he has gotten. And I think that with Piron, he may not ever, we're not saying, I don't think, to correct me if I'm wrong, we're not saying that he's going to end up being like Le'Veon Bell in terms of that kind of quickness, but he's going to go from being a guy who, who's going to dramatically improve his quickness the way that Le'Veon Bell, who was good, turned into great. Whereas I think
Right.
this is a guy who's kind of, we're looking at him now and saying, is he a fullback or a short yardage running back to could he be an every down starter? And I
And
think
I
with
would say he could do, to put some context to it. And you're right. Bell was always on the upper ends of his physical abilities to his body mass. But I could see this guy kind of being able to achieve the same kind of success that you see with a Jordan Howard
yeah.
if he's able to like get to this kind of level of speed. And Jordan Howard wasn't necessarily the fastest guy, but he was fast enough and had a lot of 20-yard runs.
And those are explosive plays in the NFL.
Right. So, it's here at the very least the floor for me for Pirine is a guy who can be an effective goal line, short yardage running back, good blocker. You can even use him in like semi fullback type roles, and might be able to like generate decent yardage for you with some consistency. But his ceiling, I really don't know where it is. I could see a ceiling that can be Pro Bowl material, and just it all depends on what he ends up doing, how he focuses, his training, um, both physical training and mental training for the position, because he's very incomplete as a running back, mentally and physically.
So let's just play this game because it's a fun game to play to wrap this up. If, based on your experience just in life in general, if you were interviewing him, if you were evaluating him, and we're not talking about tape, but we're talking about the interview, we're talking about a visit, we're talking about those types of things. What is it that you would want to gauge or do to gauge whether P Ryan is the type of player who is going to do the things that you need him to do to become that player that you're projecting as a possible ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen him in an interview, a couple of interviews, and the context that I heard him speaking was what he plans on doing outside of football. And so my number one questions would be geared towards understanding and getting a good gauge on his passion and commitment level to the game. He seems pretty cerebral, seems like an intelligent guy. He's got his head on right. He's not just a numbnuts. He's not just some guy who bangs his head against the wall and has physical abilities. He's an intelligent guy from what I gathered, and so I would really just be more interested in how much he loves football and trying to get an assessment on that. And then you just got to put him in the right situation, an offense that takes advantage of him being a momentum building type running back, and one that has an organization that knows how to sort of like harvest or shape him into a guy who who is his most explosive version of himself.
Yeah. I think I would want to see. I think those are great. I think that's a great answer, and I would add to it and say that I would want to see whether he's a words guy or an action guy. And I think what I mean by that is that a lot of these guys a lot of guys who are very smart and very cerebral, they can talk a good game and give you the answer that you want. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I would want to see whether or not, when he says something, does he do it? Or when he talks the talk, is that usually a key that he's going to do something? Because there's some guys who they only start talking or they get excited about things, and when they do, it's on. They are going to be all about that. But a guy like my friend Gene Bramall, if Gene Bramall says he's going to do something, he's going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
He's the kind of person that I know that, like, he may not say much, but if he does, that means he's excited
Man of
about it.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where some people I know, I have friends who, they talk about how excited they are about, three or four different things, and you
Like
would
Johnny
think,
Manziel.
yeah, yeah, my buddy,
Is he a
we
Johnny
hang out when
Manziel
we
or a
last
Jim
time we were
Brown?
out at the club together, he was telling me about the five. No, but yeah, it's exactly right. They may tell you about five things they're excited about with equal fervor, and you don't know. And if one of those things gets accomplished, even halfway there, you're, that's an accomplishment for them. So to me, it would be, kind of gauging, if this guy shows excitement, does that mean something, or is he one of those, or is he more of a quiet guy who just goes about his business? And if you're watching him, work, what he's working on and what he's doing is going to speak louder than anything that he says. So, I
Yeah.
mean, those are gauging that, I guess, part from an interview, part from a visit, part from, I know the coaches have sometimes given players something to do, just a task to work on sometimes, and have them, and then check back in on them and seeing what kind of progress they're making doing it. And, some players know that that's a test, but some players also, get into it. If they think it's going to be beneficial to them and helpful, they might do that. They might work at it as well. So, just little things like that might be helpful along the way, I would imagine too. But this has really been insightful because it's been fun to look at his career from a 3 year perspective and to
Yeah.
see how he's changed from the present to the past.
And what the future may or may not hold for him,
Yeah.
because it's funny, the further back you go into the past, the more it may resemble his future.
Yes.
But that's just an unknown element, but it just speaks to his potential. And I mean, inconsistency really just sums him up. Effort can be inconsistent, power can be inconsistent, speed can be inconsistent. But you see signs of all of those things that are there, but you just don't continuously see them.
Yeah. It's like the it's like the it's like the motor that just won't quite turn over at full speed, but when you've seen it completely turn over and come to life, it it's a beauty of
Yeah.
a motor. So,
I'll be very interested to see what he does at the combine. Um, but he's a very easy risk in the third round,
gotcha.
in my opinion.
So do
Very
you
easy risk.
so do you think maybe he was asked to add weight to be more of a fullback type?
That's a good question. It might just be his genetic predisposition, and that kind of generated from his typical weightlifting regimen. But and at the older these men get, the more they fill out and thicken out, and he tends to be genetically thicker. So it might just be something that he has to put effort in, and that's why I kind of brought up the Bell thing, because I think Bell had that similar thickness, and then he really just became slim, relatively slim to what it used to be.
Yeah.
And this might be some path that he might consider, just minimizing carbs, eating lean proteins, and working on just getting a little lighter. And I think he's not going to compromise the power when he does, if he does.
Great points, Ryan. This has been a fantastic show. I just want to thank you again for coming on. Obviously, I'm going to want to have you on as much as I possibly can because it's the insights that you deliver are so fantastic, and I just love the variety of approaches that you take. And it's one of the things that I know, some people give a lot of jargon, and we've had this discussion offline. Some people give a lot of jargon about X's and O's and strategy, um, and Ryan certainly knows all of that to probably a higher degree than a lot of people that who do it. But he doesn't hide behind that at all, and he often gets to the root issue of things, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you in terms of how you look at players. And it's I hope you guys have enjoyed having Ryan here in the RSP Film Room as much as I had tonight. So for
I know I had fun.
good, good. Well, we're gonna do it again for sure, and we'll get to watch some more players. And for those of you who are new to the RSP Film Room, you can check out more RSP Film Rooms at my blog at www.mattwaldmanrsp.com, and you can also check out my channel on YouTube called the RSP Film Room, and you'll be able to find more videos with Ryan and I, as well as with other guests and content that's available there. And we will see you the next time around. And thanks again for watching, everybody.
Thanks, guys.